Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whoever you are, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here with another interview. My name is Laura D. Pusey. I'm the founder of Dipism, which is Death in Practice. And I've had the fortunate and privileged experience of being able to train a group of people up to become grief practitioners under the Dipism way. And one of my trainees is Lorna, who I'm about to have a very insightful conversation with. Now, I've been trying to get hold of Lorna for a very long time to have a conversation online. So here we are, finally. Thank you so much for joining me, Lorna. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And it's an honour and pleasure to be here. And I pray I can be of service. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Bit flustered, but I'm okay. Okay. So what I did was I asked all the group practitioners, all the grief practitioners, if they would sit with me for an interview on any subject taken from the book Tapestries of Grief. And you've chosen the allostatic load.
Mm.
Yeah, which was how do I put this? It's interesting for me because it's not something that I've spoken of before. And you know, when you said it, when I realized it was the allostatic load, I was like, oh, right, where do we start? But there is so much to unpack in that alone. So, first of all, Lorna, um, how did you find the training and what has your experience been, you know, with Dipism, the products and any services that you've received? What are your thoughts?
So, okay, with regard to the training, I found it very therapeutic and very cathartic. Um, I'll be honest with you, with clients in mind, I snatched what I needed for myself first.
Okay, good.
I always put myself at the center of it. Where am I? Because I've learned so much. My experiences with Dipism, the products, and everything else is that it is, for me, it has been what's been missing in my grief and bereavement journey. And if someone had told me 2 years ago that a lot of my grief experiences and bereavement experiences, I would find answers because I'm so many years young and I've got this far, and normally my peer groups don't live this long. So to suddenly, be in a position in a space where I actually, because I didn't think that there were going to be any answers. There wasn't going to be any specific personal areas of need fulfilled for me. I thought I might actually get to the grave before certain things were answered. So yes, if somebody had said to me 2 years ago that that's not the case, I would have looked at them and thought, how, where, what, But happening upon Dipism, which was, to me, was spiritual, esoterical. It was just alignment. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't, it was just a journey, a process of alignment. And here I am in a different space and still working through everything, but it's kind of a Pandora's box in that it opens up so many more areas to look at and discover.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
so training has been excellent for me, and I look forward to the rest because I know I'm just at the beginning of my journey.
Yeah. Okay. And I know that you have been quite challenged and stressed, not stressed, stretched. I know that you've been working with Marcus as well, and that he's been putting you through your paces. So, I,
I welcome it. I need to be. I need to be challenged. I'm the kind of person that I need to be challenged and I need to be stretched, but in the
yes,
right way.
yes,
I'm well intended, so I don't mind debates. I can debate for England all day long, but I never want to argue, as in we're going off the actual thing that we're supposed to be debating, and it's now an argument has ensued. I'm not into that, but I could debate all day. So I love it. I love the engagement. I like mental chess, put it that way. I like
Yes.
mental gymnastics, mental chess. So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, going back to the course, I just want to say thank you because I know that you've put a lot into it. And it's really interesting for me that you had thoughts that you didn't think would ever sort of be answered so early in your lifetime, I might add. Um, and I think that's really the purpose of the course, was to just show everybody that actually there are different ways of looking at death and grief.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, a lot of the decisions that we make come down to the perspective that we stand at when we are looking at death and grief. And sometimes the lower energies can take over our emotions, our feelings, and our decision making processes. So I'm really heartened to know that we've been able to touch your life. And I know that through this work, through the fact that you've done this course, it means that you will go on to touch the lives of many others that, I will never know, Dippism may never interact with, but because you've done the work, others will benefit as a result. So thank you so much. We're discussing today the allostatic load. And the allostatic load really talks to our collective memory as a people. So we're talking about the generational journey that we have been through and the trauma and the stresses that have been carried down through our bloodlines. We carry the pain and trauma of our ancestors within our very marrow. And this impacts upon our day-to-day stresses, our normal, ordinary, level experiences that we have. But when it comes to the allostatic load, okay, let me just take a hot minute to talk about the allostatic load. Let's go into some detail here, okay? Allostatic load refers to the cumulative wear and tear on the body and brain that results from chronic stress. It is the cost of constantly having to adapt to stressful situations. When the body is exposed to prolonged stress, such as ongoing psychological, social, or environmental pressures, the physiological systems, such as the cardiovascular, immune, and metabolic systems, can become dysregulated, leading to increased vulnerability to illness and negative health outcomes. So, how does allostatic load work? Well, the term allostasis refers to the process of achieving stability through change. Essentially, it's how the body responds to stress in an attempt to maintain balance. However, when that stress is chronic, the body's systems are repeatedly activated, leading to allostatic load. This wear and tear can be seen in physiological markers like increased cortisol levels, elevated blood pressure, increased inflammation, and metabolic dysregulation. If allostatic load becomes too high, it can contribute to health issues like hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, depression, and other chronic conditions. With regard to grief and loss, these are intensely stressful experiences for many people, and the mourning process can be greatly prolonged. The emotional toll of losing a loved one, combined with physiological stress responses, can lead to an increased allostatic load. Chronic stress during grieving can manifest as heightened levels of anxiety, sadness, and despair, leading to prolonged activation of the body's stress response. Now, back to the interview. Because we are dealing with higher levels of stress that are not actually always comprehended by people from other backgrounds, we will then go out of our way to make sure that other people are happy and comfortable. And we perhaps neglect ourselves as a result, which means then that we give rise to pre-diagnosed or maybe even undiagnosed health conditions that may be triggered then by our grief and the amount of stress that we are experiencing, whether we know it or not. And most of the times it's unconscious. So I just wanted to kind of explain what the allostatic load was for anybody who's not aware of it. But I'm aware, Lorna, that you have experienced grief from a very young age.
Yes, that's the case.
Okay. And with your experiences of grief, have you ever experienced any kind of counselling, therapy, or anything for your bereavements, for your losses?
No. Before dippism, no.
Okay, let me just jump in again. Just a quick one with regards to therapy and mental health. Let's be honest, in many of our Black communities, there are strong expectations of resilience and emotional strength, which might discourage many of us from openly grieving or seeking support. This can lead to an internalization of stress and an underexpression of grief, adding to emotional burden and physical stress. The experience of being the main caregiver or emotional backbone of the family during times of grief can also place additional pressure, particularly on our sisters. The role as nurturer often prevents us from receiving the emotional care that we need. Due to the combined impact of allostatic load from chronic stressors and insufficient mental health resources, our sisters are more likely to experience negative health outcomes such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and mental health challenges. These conditions can be exacerbated during periods of grief. Brothers and sisters, our grief experience is often compounded by social isolation. There is limited access to culturally competent mental health care or therapeutic spaces where we can process our grief in ways that feel authentic and supportive. There is also a social stigma around seeking mental health help, which can also prevent many of us from seeking the support we need, further increasing our emotional and physical burdens during grief. So, the cumulative effect of allostatic load during grief can lead to various mental and physical health consequences, including chronic fatigue and exhaustion from the emotional and physical toll of grief combined with ongoing stress. Now, back to the interview. Okay, so one could assume then that your stresses and your what's the word that I'm looking for? Grief. Grief. It's all grief, isn't it? Has stayed within the body.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes.
Right. Okay. So what was it then about the word allostatic or the allostatic load within the book Tapestries of Grief that stood out to you that made you think that you wanted to discuss it today?
Well, like I said, with dippism kind of answering a lot of questions for me, whether it be directly or indirectly. So I lost my mother when I was 6 years old. And that was, I wasn't told that she passed away. I wasn't, the funeral went on around me and everything else took place. It wasn't out of maliciousness. It was just children were seen and not heard in my generation, and they didn't think you'd understand, and maybe they didn't think you'd notice. I don't know how, but you know. So,
Yeah.
and to be fair, I don't have any family here. So my parents are Windrush, you know, in the generation. Therefore, it was just my parents and my siblings that were here. The rest of my family were left behind in Guyana. And in those days, you would send, you know, you communicate by email.
Right.
Or, you know, if you were lucky enough to have a phone in the home, you would write a letter to somebody and say, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however, 6 weeks, I'll be calling you on the Sunday at this time, so that they could go and ask a neighbour to use, and that's how you communicated.
Okay.
So when my mother passed away, that communication was lost, and my siblings and I, technically, we got stranded in the UK. And my oldest sibling was 21 at the time. So it was just us, my 5 siblings, because one never ever came over from Guyana. My 5 siblings and I. So we lost contacts. I became estranged from my family, basically.
Right.
So, so all, you know, all these years, I've always been focusing on, you know, my mother's death. I lost my mother, the pain, the injury, the wounds have all been, the bereavement and the grief has all been about the loss of my mother. But it's only since Dippism, and I don't know when, you know, it came to mind, but I realised, and I lost so much more. I didn't just lose my mother, you know, I lost the family home that I was in because my parents had been separated. And so I had to go and live with my father. And so I lost my siblings, I lost my friends, the neighbours, because, you know, things were more tight-knit community in those days. School changed my school. Security, safety, and innocence all gone overnight. So, you know, it's kind of like biblical. I lost everything, everything. Apart from my one of my siblings came, but she's only 6 years older than me.
Right.
Yeah. So technically, I hadn't considered any of that. It's like, how did that escape my? You know what I mean? How did that? How did I not notice? How did I not? It probably was. I probably kind of knew, but didn't. Inherently, I probably inherently realized I'm not seeing my friends or what have you. But it didn't dawn on me that I encompassed all of that loss under the umbrella of I lost my mother, rather than looking at each thing independently. So I've never discussed any of those things. So inherently, my trauma isn't just immediate. I lost my mother, etc., etc., but it's ancestral because I lost my ancestry as well, because I got disconnected from my family. So, but the fact that because I lost my father at a young age as well, and then I lost a grandson at a young age. So it's like everything happened, and it's like I marvel going through the dippers and training and everything else at my ability to manage all of that, you know, handle all of that. And so that was what piqued my interest. It's like, it's not, you know, your grief and bereavement doesn't start with grief and bereavement, or, you know, always. It doesn't start there and then. You know, it's things around, like my parents having to come here, having no community. Maybe my mother passed early and young because of being here. And she died, she was 42 when she passed. So she was quite young. So therefore, you know, yeah, and there's so much more, but I won't try and shove it all in at this stage. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm on the journey of discovery, rediscovery. So yeah.
Wow. You have said so much there, so much that I want to sort of unpack with you over this next hour or so. First of all, wow, you know, oftentimes we go through transitions in life and we don't realize the toll that it's actually taking on us emotionally, environmentally, physically, psychologically. And it's so true. And I think it's a mistake that is often made, that when a parent dies, children are not told. It's just assumed that they'll be all right, they'll get over it. we'll just, we won't have them at the funeral. We'll just keep it to ourselves. We don't want to upset them.
Mm.
And that's not for the child.
Yeah.
It's because those adults don't want to experience the discomfort of having to inform the child, explain to the child,
Mm.
and then comfort the child
Mm.
around their loss. And so I believe that that's even worse.
Mm.
So you're 6, one
Mm.
minute your mother is there,
Mhm.
and the next minute she's not there.
Mhm.
And then whole life changes around you.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then if ever, now I'm not assuming that you did, but if you were then to, go to school and play out, act out, and then be, running up and down out on road and just be in a
Keg reg, as I used to say back in the day.
a what, sorry?
Keg reg.
A
A little keg
Tegareg,
reg.
yeah. I I was referred to as a Tegareg, yeah. But yeah, if you was out there being a Tegareg out on road, making up noise and stuff, you would be the problem. And
Mm.
nobody would be turning around and saying, but hold on, where's she coming from? What's happened to her? What has she experienced?
Mm.
Who is she? Where is she? How is she? And I think that these are questions that we would do well to be asking our youths,
Mhm.
just checking in on them.
Most definitely, and that's one of the reasons, or another reason, why the training is beneficial for me, other than my own personal journeys, because I work with a lot of young people. I'm a community youth
Mm,
worker by profession,
mm,
and increasingly more and more we're seeing young people come into the service with varying trauma, more so than ever before. So you're talking knife crime, you're talking trafficking, you're talking I mean, it's extensive. It's just grooming, just
mm.
so much, so many things, and I don't feel that we're being equipped, especially from a melanated perspective.
Yeah,
We're not being equipped on how to deal with our youth. And for me, a day's training or a 2-day training, if he was ever that fortunate, isn't acceptable. It's not acceptable. So I technically have an unofficial counselling chair when I'm at work.
yeah,
I'm not an official, a counsellor or this was prior to dippism. But the young people would always seek me out and come and sit in the office chair, and I would give them the time, even if it meant I got an ear bashing or what have you from that. I'd always make time. I always make time for my young people,
yeah.
and so because of that unofficial counselling chair, and I always managed, but I
Mm,
just always wanted to show up for them, to
mm,
do more for them. So I felt it was incumbent upon me to learn for myself rather than wait for it to be provided within the workplace setting. So
yeah.
dippism has been beneficial there as well. So whilst dealing with my own personal trauma before I get to my clients,
Mm.
I'm informed. So yeah, it's good.
Wow. Okay, I know that you've been working with youths for, would you say, the majority of your life?
Over 40 years.
Okay.
Forgive me on my age.
Well, given the fact that you are around 40, 45, that's okay. It's okay. But I understand that then your finger is on the pulse when it comes to our youths and certain, I suppose, terms and phrases that they use and the ways in which that they express themselves and being able to recognize in them different levels of stress and perhaps how it's manifesting.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware that that is often missed in
Hmm.
today's society, especially with people that are working with our young ones. So, with regards to the allostatic load, I want to go back to that because I remembered that you said that you wanted to argue and stay on point. So, okay. With regards to the allostatic load, then, what I would say, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that these traumas
Hmm.
that our young ones have been experiencing, that you experienced from, let's say, the age of 6, have just kind of mounted up, leveled up, and they kind of get packed down, one on top of the other, on top of the other.
Hmm.
And then that can lead us to have a higher exposure of sicknesses, whether they be psychological or physical.
Hmm.
And, you know, going back to what you were saying earlier on, you didn't say anything about it, you didn't make mention to it, but I thought then about the strong black woman stereotype,
Mhm.
because there are so many of our sisters who are walking around with similar traumas that have
Mhm.
just been pressed down, and then the next one, and we swallowed the next one, and then we absorb the next one, and then we take in the next one.
Mhm.
And this really can trigger off illness. And this is where we have to speak about our grief. Would you agree with what I've said?
Yeah. I'm going to show you something, right?
Okay.
Something that is yours, well, as in Dippisms, but you haven't received, and it's some of my homework.
Ah, okay. Oh,
If you can see.
oh. Now I like this. This is homework. Okay.
Did it receive
Love
it?
it.
It was
Okay.
initially self-care. However, when I was looking through my letters, I couldn't find all of the letters to make up the word self, so it's been shortened to my care, but it was supposed to be self-care.
Okay. I
This is Dippism homework, and some of my homework is quite, in terms of the color schemes I'm speaking, is quite stark.
okay.
When we're speaking about scaffolding and it's all different matters around that, and
Mm,
so it's quite stark. So I decided that this had to be represented in a
yeah.
way that shows this is the inherent. This is me inherently. Doesn't matter how I show up any other way, blah, blah, blah. If I have a bad day, if I'm suffering from SAD, season
Mm,
affective disorder, what have you, that's always who that's the gift from my parents. I know I
yeah.
was loving, very loving parents, and that's carried me throughout my life. Hence that what irrespective of the labels, trauma, around trauma, like, what have you, it's all pain.
Mm,
It's just pain. Like when I have a young person and they're angry and they want to punch up somebody and they want to shoot you and what have you, it's pain. I don't
mm,
see the anger per se.
mm,
It's pain at its root. What's
mm,
going on there? That's
yeah.
interesting. It's pain. So in terms of self-care, um, I think that I've been quite blessed and fortunate to have always had a calm demeanor.
Okay.
And also because I know that if I do actually lose my temper or get angry, it's not going to be pretty. And I've got to make sure that if I ever lose my temper, it's something that I won't use the term proud of, but
Mm,
it was necessary. And the few times that that's happened at school or what have you, it was always a case of what did they do?
right.
Because
Okay.
it's like, Lorna, no way,
Mm,
what did they do?
yeah.
I've always been fortunate. So when because I used to have a lot more anger when I was younger. I wasn't
Yeah.
aware that I had the anger, but
Yeah.
when it expressed itself, I had a lot more anger until I
Mm,
decided that I had to learn to choose my battles, and I couldn't fight my way through life. I wasn't scrapping all
mm,
the time, but I'm
yeah.
just saying a few times I realized, no, this isn't sustainable. I have to find another way to navigate. So I think
Mm,
art, poetry. I love music. Um, I kind of have always taken care of myself without realizing self care. I didn't have all of these
mm,
labels, but I enjoyed. I did martial arts. I enjoyed martial arts. That was an outlet for me as well. Yeah, and I've been fortunate and blessed to have um, old friends. Someone brought to my attention that you have a lot of friendships that are old friendships.
mm,
I have many, meaning I've been able to maintain and sustain friendships. I have a lot of, as well as making new ones.
mm,
But I don't meet, since it's been said, I don't meet many people who
yeah.
have entrenched old friendships in number.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been quite fortunate and blessed in that way.
Let me just jump in again. While allostatic load cannot be entirely avoided, there are ways to reduce its impact, especially if we are experiencing grief. Self-care and rest is also vital, although not easy at times. Prioritizing sleep, exercise, and nutrition can help to counteract the physical effects of stress. Meditation, mindfulness, or other relaxation techniques can also help lower stress levels and decrease cortisol production. Encouraging self-care routines that emphasize relaxation and emotional healing is important for reducing the overall allostatic load. Social support is also important for our grieving friends and family members. Building or reinforcing support networks, whether through family, friends, or community organizations, can provide emotional and practical assistance during times of grief. Let's talk about it. Addressing the stigma around seeking help for mental health challenges can encourage our brothers and sisters to seek therapeutic support when necessary. Back to the interview. I want to go back to your My Care poster. So if
Coming to
you,
you soon.
sorry,
I'm coming to you soon, whether by picture or what have you. It's your homework. So it's
okay,
coming to you soon.
all right. However we get it, we're going to frame it, and yeah, it'll go in the gallery. Yeah, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But you know, like how
Mm.
that's your self-care, yeah? How do I want to frame this question and I don't know how to. If you were Lorna without the body,
Without,
without your body,
oh, okay.
pure energy, the
Mhm.
expression of pure energy, is that what it looks like?
It would be more vibrant than this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. It would be more vibrant than this. It would kind of glisten a bit like the top part, the mic kit.
Mm.
You see the glitter on that?
No, can't see the
Okay,
glitter, but
precision.
I know I
Yeah.
will.
Right.
Okay.
So it's glitter. Yes, actually, it's glitter. It's glittery, and it would be more. I've never taken magic mushrooms or anything else like that, but
Yeah.
you know the description when they say it just makes everything more vibrant and more.
Luminescence.
Yeah, that's what it would be. It would just be, yeah. But you can get the gist. This was as close as I could get for the now. But yeah, and that's me there.
Yes, yes, at the center. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be
Okay.
my vision, my version
Wow.
of that expresses my self care. Because I could just talk for England and I could put so many things down, but I think that kind of just gives off the I'm about frequency vibes and yeah, there's one more, but I can't think of it at the moment. But I'll tell you.
Okay. Good
Yeah,
energy.
energy. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where being, facilitating a decolonized course comes in, because we've said to you guys, we just want homework. Do it however you please. It really doesn't matter. And
Mm-hmm.
the homework came in, pretty much, I'd say quite standard. Questions were answered with chapter and verse. But to have expression as you have shown it just gives another dimension to how beautiful and free spirited we can be when we are not locked down, or when we are given that free reign to go off and express ourselves.
Yeah.
And so many of us were raised with those kind of notions of whatever happens in the house stays in the house.
Mm.
As you said, children should be seen and not heard. You know, um, what you're crying for, I'll give you something to cry for.
Mm.
And so again, we have just been taught how to suppress our inner spirit, our inner joy. And like you, I was a really angry child. I was actually quite violent as a child, only to one person, you know, who deserved it. And I would say that as a result, as a
Should have
result,
been.
yes, no regrets. But I was told one day, here's a pen and a piece of paper, write it down. And I never stopped writing. And I think that that's a gift of expression. And, you know, the artwork that you have shown is a gift of expression. And I think more of us would be able to, let's say, bring down our allostatic load if we were able to just reconnect with ourselves, you know, and even perhaps that collective memory that's been passed down through the generations. Because I'm also aware that when we do the work, it's although we're doing it for our clients, primarily we have to do it for ourselves.
First, my self-care, I've realized unapologetically it's self first, but it's beneficial for my clients because I'd like to believe with my young people. I do work with older people as well, but that my young people is my that's my special place. But
Yeah.
And usually the ones that no one else wants to touch or whatever, I don't get that.
They're the best,
They're
aren't they?
lovely. They're lovely, right?
Yeah.
And despite themselves, sometimes they're lovely. But yes, they. I'd like to believe that they sense in me that I'm authentic. I'm not coming from a place of knowledge and just authority and etc. But we can actually sit down and just speak frequency to frequency and vibe to vibe. I'd like to believe that they pick up on the nuances and stuff. They know that it's genuine. So yeah, it's essential. First self. See, we had a conversation offline, right, where I said that I don't believe I don't think I grieve like maybe other people do, right? So, which is fine. It's not judgment on anyone else, but there's like a standard, like there's a social standard of grief, right? Of a way to grieve. I don't subscribe to any of those standards. However, I do think to myself sometimes, am I trying to avoid, am I in denial? Am I not taking care of, or what have you? But I think inherently and indirectly, I've got a lot to learn and I've got a lot to work through, don't get me wrong. But in terms of, I believe the universe taking care of my needs, being that I lost so young, I believe that I've been taken care of on my journey, even when I wasn't aware of it. Hence that self-care expression. Had I presented that, I believe, in institutional arenas, it may have been, but this is not what we asked for. You were supposed to, because I was tentative when I was doing something, because I just didn't want to do it the standard way. Like on this course, I've been kind of longing it. I've been like an artist. So it's been like, yes, it's just not ready yet. I'm still in the process of thinking. I can't give it in 2 weeks' time because it's just not ready. So what I'm going to be submitting is in keeping with what's been requested, but the freedom to express how I actually convey it, I'm really, really grateful for, because it's what's not made. I did say at the beginning that I've not found answers. I've not been able to. So it's these kind of things that have allowed me to feel heard, seen, and know that I'm on the right path and on the right journey. And like I said, even realizing that, even before I'd attached it to the allostatic load title, that I'd lost so much more. And that came to me through being able to express and the way that I'm being taught, even to look at grief. We don't even discuss grief really, and in terms of a conversation like we're having now. It's usually when the dramas happened or the traumas happened, and we're now trying to make good or trying to heal at that stage. But the pre-conversations, the early conversations, the needing to just look at grief and what it encompasses is just not had, and it's just not been there. So like, I think until this point, I've been blessed and fortunate that I've been able to have measures of self-care that without even being aware. So for example, some of my entrenched friendships are very skilled people, So I have a personal trainer that whether I've got income or not, I train with. I've got
Right.
a masseuse who, whether or not, I'm don't get me wrong, not for free, but because there's such entrenched relationships and we, we share and we barter, there's, I'm engaged in, and there's so much that I can pull on,
Yeah.
before I even gave it a title. However, what Dippism has done for me is to frame what I do.
Okay.
And it's helping me to frame how I think about grief, to look at all the aspects that are available to look at and discuss, and etc. etc. Areas where my free spirited self struggled to find language for.
Yes.
I struggle
Yeah.
to find language. People always say, "Oh, no, but you're so articulate," blah 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 blah. They can't believe that I struggle. They can't believe I don't understand. But it's because of the way information is conveyed. It doesn't necessarily mean that it translates into understanding, progress, and healing.
Mm. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there is no language around grief.
Mm.
And if there had have been a language around grief, it would have been explained to you, let's say from the age of 6,
Mm.
and then your future experiences could have been completely different.
Mm.
I was speaking with Marcus about the course not too long ago, and we noted that a lot of people, since doing the course, have gone on to experience loss, bereavement. Somebody has died that they know or are close to, or maybe a few people have passed away during that time. Now, I know that you have experienced a lot of loss of recent over the past few years. Can you talk to us about how many people and, you know, the fact that you've lost these friendships and deeply entrenched relationships, and then how your perspective has changed
Mm.
going through the course?
Okay, so prior to the course, just on the cusp of doing the course,
Mm.
that year I lost 10, I had 10 deaths that were up close and personal. And interestingly enough, I didn't think about it at the time, but the first one, it's almost like the catalyst for it, was my sister in Guyana, the one that never ever came over. And
Mm.
she, interestingly enough, had multiple health conditions, and it's, again, most likely because she never came over. And I never realized, I never met her till I was 21, because we didn't grow up together. The cultural Windrush generation is to stay behind. You leave one child behind to look after your parents. So she was
Mm.
that child. But it hadn't dawned. I used to think, oh, 6 years old, lost my mum, woe is me, kind of thing, which, I deserve to. But when I realized that they'd left her when she was 8 months old, so she never met my parents. I mean, consciously. She never consciously had a memory of my parents. And so that trumped me, and I felt a bit less sorry for myself. And it's interesting that that's the sibling, she's passed on now. So that was the open door. I had consecutive up close and extended family members. So in the absence of having my own family,
Mm.
we had the community that came over from Guyana,
Mm.
my mum's best friend, Auntie B, what have you. They always felt like family, but, in terms of uh, DNA, we're from different family groups.
Yeah.
And so that generation is starting to now pass on. Some cousins, again, from those aunties and uncle, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's getting closer and closer to home. And even up to 3 weeks ago, I'd lost another. So it's about nearly 14 since Yalla initially told yourself. But I don't deal with grief. I believe I'm cut a certain way, because since my mum died and I
Mm.
didn't have a framework of what grief was and how you're supposed to act,
Yeah.
it's like I'm not cut that way.
Yeah.
you know, because you kind of get taught how you grieve before
Yes.
you're even aware of what grief is.
Yep.
But so I've decided that no, I'm not in. I mean, maybe sometimes I am, but no, I'm debating here. Like, no, I'm not always in denial. No, it's not that I'm not taking. Da, 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 da. It's just I'm not cut that way. I don't. No one gave me a kumbaya or told me about the fairy or told me about heaven or nothing. Nothing like that. My mum died. I don't really recall it, but I'm sure I cried long enough and realized she was never coming back. So I gave up that Holy Ghost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I guess in it was I believe it led me to a place of acceptance
Mm.
of her passing. After a period of time, she was never coming back. You kind of accept that because
Mm.
children are quite resilient, more robust and resilient than adults.
Yeah.
You know, you give them a lollipop and they're good.
Yeah.
You know, that solves a lot of things. A lollipop or a treat can solve many things. So I guess in the extended, I guess more, I wouldn't have been mourning. I don't believe because I wouldn't have known what that was.
Mm.
But just like any child whose parent leaves them on the first day at school, it's grief. You know, you know. But then after a while, you learn not to cry. So I'm cut in a certain kind of way. I'm hoping through my experiences with dippism
Mm.
that I can, you know, unpack some of that in the future and, you know, see if the, you know, tears are really there. They are well up from time to time, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's I keep it. So it's interesting. Doing this interview is kind of a juxtaposition for me because I'm not sitting here as somebody who has all the answers or is trying to find all the answers. I'm sitting here as somebody that's working through my own trauma and my own experiences in
Mm.
order to find answers in my life. And as I do, I share whatever I have. I recycle whatever I have, and therein it will benefit others, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what's been heard. It's not conclusive. Yes, and
Mm.
you know, it's
Mm.
constant moving of a barometer as to what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and you know how you know. So but it's good. It's all good stuff.
And I
Yeah.
know that you was kind of a bit nervous about sitting down with me and doing this interview.
Mm,
And I'm just thinking of the amount of people who are going to watch this and
mm,
identify with
mm,
that moving a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right of that barometer.
mm-hmm,
Because, yes, as you've said, you know, there does seem to be a way of grieving that has been adopted by so many of our brothers and sisters,
mm,
which is really sad because I believe that there would have been a time when we would have celebrated the elevation of death and we would have looked at the higher, more positive attributes and gifts that death and grief give us. And it sounds to me like you've tapped in to those gifts and you've been able to just adjust them so that you can continue to move up and onwards
mm.
and also be an inspiration to others at the same time because that's it, isn't it? It's all you have to do is live you.
It, it, it's interesting that you say that because I was thinking whilst I was shifting my barometer that I'm a transformer. You
Uh-huh.
know, I will take what's available,
Mm.
and well, I try to take what's available and always um, take the beauty out of whatever it is that I have access to, no matter how stark it looks, no matter how
Yeah.
dire it may seem. I will try to take the beauty out of it.
Mm.
And I said I might get a little bit emotional while I'm on the video when something touches me, and so because that's my heart, and but that's how I've survived. I would never get out of the bed in the morning over those years. There's days I just wouldn't have got out of bed if I
Mm.
wasn't able to just transform, take
Mm.
and in terms of like you say about how we've adopted, that's why I say that I wasn't cut a certain way to take on certain information. So there's a lot that I won't have to unlearn because I didn't take it
Mm.
on board in the first place.
Mm.
But what I need to get more into, I believe, is the understanding of the more traditional way of dealing with things. So even if I might not have celebrated in a conventional way, I celebrate by transforming. Like, for example, when I used to write poetry, so much
Mm.
people used to find I don't know, inspiration or whatever they conveyed to me from it. And it was usually from my pain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it transformed. I never ever stay there. You know, I
Mm.
go there. I don't run from it. I'd like to think I confront it. You
Mm.
know, there are maybe levels that I don't, but that's what I need to learn because I'm not aware of those.
Mm.
But I do confront it. It's another little surprise for you, Laura.
Oh.
I feel like I'm on one of those 70s TV shows when here's one we made earlier. But I can't take all the credit. And in honor of the allostatic loads that we're speaking of, here's another piece of work that you haven't received that I've done.
Did you
So
do this?
if you look at this, right, I need to talk about this a second if you don't mind. But
Yeah.
can you see that scaffolding?
Yep. The scaffolding.
Can
Yep.
you see the lime green card here?
Yes.
Right. And can you see in between all of these? Can you see the lime green coming through?
Yes.
Right. Do
Okay.
you know I sat and did that with a blade? And because what it was, this was just a standard A4 photocopy, and it looked too stark, and I wanted hope to shine through. So I thought, how can I do that? Because it's stark. So what I did is I put it on this lime green background, and then I took all of the. If I get as close as I can you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I
That's
can.
all hand done. And if you look at the delicacy of how delicate
Yes.
that scaffold, skinny scaffold, I have to be very careful not to tear the paper. But it took
Yes.
me all of a night to do that. And but it was essential that I had to be true to what it was. This wasn't on here originally, these other colours. What
Yeah.
happened was, because I wanted it to remain stark, because I wanted to, and the light coming through, because in terms of the allostatic loads, the reason why I use so much scaffolding, even though, and I did do the work that you asked me to do, this is an addition. The reason why there's so much scaffolding, even though we were asked to do like immediate scaffolding, like, you know, start with ourselves and work our way out in terms of family, friends, groups and stuff. I
Yeah.
decided when I was looking for inspiration, I decided that this was pertinent because that's all the scaffolding I believe I have, whether I know them or not. So the family that I don't know, the midwife that may have helped my mother, somebody who may have seen me, you know, about to trip and moved something out of the way, but never actually came and claimed their reward for being so decent and kind. So it's just like we don't appreciate all of the intrinsic, you know, things that we experience, and in terms of again. Weight and energy, that's, you know, that it looks like an allostatic load, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. It
It
does.
looks like an allostatic load. So that was that. The reason why the colour ended up on it is because I had it on a board and it fell down when I wasn't home, and someone put pins in the corner of the green, and I was, you can't do that. That's my masterpiece. You can't have
Yes.
pin pricks in my masterpiece. So I had to blade it all out, and then it looked odd, so I just attached this on. So that's
Wow.
where that light comes through. So I just wanted to share that one.
But you see, that is so layered. I love it. Can you just hold it up again? It's really layered. It's
Mm,
okay. No, 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 it's all right. Just hold it
mm,
back so I can still see your face. It's
right.
okay.
Okay,
Down a
okay,
bit. There you go.
okay.
It's layered
Mm,
in so many ways. Okay.
mm,
So first of all, I just want to explain to those who are watching about the scaffolding. So we spoke about the primary importance of your self-care,
yes.
knowing who's there
Mm,
for you, who's there to hold you up whenever
mm,
you are in need.
right.
And in turn, when we look at our clients, what
Mm,
is their scaffolding? What
right.
organizations, services, what family members, friends, you know, who is there for them? And
Mm,
so, as part of the training, what we explained is that you would be working with the client and we are working with you because you are our primary concern. You know, if our practitioners are not tuddy, then neither are, you know, nothing is, you know. So that's what the scaffolding there is. But then what you've done is you've added layers to it, the dimensions, because you've got the scaffolding there, right? But
Yeah.
if you then add the spiritual, emotional, mental, social, psychological,
Mm-hmm.
financial, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and remember, we were talking about the different types of pain, and we've sort of alluded to it in this conversation, but everybody experiences pain, and sometimes it's not physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a financial pain and they don't know how they're going to deal with it. You know, sometimes it's an emotional or an
Yeah.
environmental. They're
Yeah.
now in this
Spiritual.
space.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that your I can't even call it a picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Abstract art.
your art, it
Abstract
leaves
art.
me it leaves me wanting. There is
You've
there
got some
is
more surprises to come. But they're not finished, so I hadn't brought it. These are just little, but you
all
got
right.
more to come. And
Okay.
that's how I decided to do my journal as well, because I've done, for me, journaling. I do poetry is the way I express in written form, but I've
Mm,
never been successful with journaling.
mhm.
So I decided that how am I going to get Dippism to accept my journal? I've done about 3 that I've written, but I thought, how can I get Dippism to accept my journal? You know, so that's why I'm trying to make a point to. It would just. I'm not suggesting anyone's going to think I'm lazy, but it would have been easier for me to just write the journal if it was down to laziness, because
Mm,
we write what we want to write and express. It's not. But I
mm.
just thought, and something like this took me like all night to do this, cut out
Yeah,
all of those things. But it was true to the piece of work that we were asked to do. So that's why I did
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm,
There is so much more that I could say about that.
mm,
But as there are other gems coming my way, I'm gonna leave
yeah.
that there. But
Mm.
that is so deep
One more for
because
you. Just a quick
yeah.
flash. I guess one more. It's not finished.
Ah, the life jacket.
The life jacket, and then if you see again, my head is in there.
Okay, right, okay. And then you've got 2 bumblebees coming out of your ears.
No, not bumblebees. What it is I had a hole in one of the pictures, so I put earrings on there. When you look at it closely, you can see there's supposed to be earrings, and that just
Okay.
gives it the color and
Well, they
dimension.
help with balance when you're floating in the water, don't they? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm actually ascending, but yeah, I'm surrounded by water in that one. So yeah.
So, can you explain the notion of the life jacket then for us, please?
Okay, so the life jacket is basically, it's not dissimilar really to the, please help if I'm off track, it's not dissimilar to the scaffolding, in the sense that it's what it's with what we have, the resources we have around us, it's what we put on. I don't know how to say it, but it's what we put on. Like, okay, an analogy of a life of the life jacket would be when you're on a plane and the air hostess is up there, and naturally a parent might want to save their children and their family first, and it's like, no,
Mm,
you've got to put on your life jacket first
mhm.
and save yourself first, so that you
Yeah.
can then go out and assist others. And I'd like to use this opportunity to say that's what Dippism has done for me in terms of my grief and bereavement journey. It's become the life jacket that I can put on for myself, in order, because like I said, for self, I'm not unapologetically selfishly saying it's for me first, before I know you're
Mm,
training us up to work with others,
mm.
but journey, hence the art and everything else, is for me first,
Yeah.
to take me through this, and
Yeah.
to enrich my clients better. So I've put on my life jacket before should my plane crash,
Yeah.
I have the greatest chance of survival.
Yeah.
And therein, once I'm got my life jacket on, I'm going to be about hopefully helping others, in order to assist and maybe have the fortune to help them extend their own lives. So
That's just like, wow. Wow. Thank you so much for that. There is there are very few times when I'm left speechless. Um, So I'll give you some dippism points for that. Remember, you still got to claim that speedboat as well that you won.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
But,
Mm.
when it comes to the life jacket, it's so true. And oftentimes it's when people are in a space of turmoil, when when their plane has crashed, that they are realizing this is grief, this is death, this is loss. Why didn't anybody tell me about this? Why wasn't I prepared for this? And I think that when it comes to the training, um, perhaps it was received as, yeah, okay, grief, yes, we need it. Yes, we need more understanding. But I don't think anybody, and I think I underestimated it as well. I underestimated how much knowledge I was bringing. And then I think, like, I don't know how it was all received with regards to, Marcus explained to me that I kind of work on a lecture level, whereas he is more of a teacher level. And the volume of information and knowledge and wisdom that was imparted, wow, you know, even after the training, there would be times when I was like, cool, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. Were you ever left feeling overwhelmed with the amount that you received?
No, I would have enjoyed if it was longer, because it was like exploding atoms for me personally. For me
Mm.
personally, and I don't, ordinarily, I don't, I don't know if I should whisper this because I've been a teacher and because I'm a community youth worker, right? But it's only, I was like, okay, so I'll say
Yeah.
that. But ordinarily, I don't like study.
You
I'm
don't, what was that? You
academic.
don't like study? Was that what you said? You know I'm deaf. I suffer with my hearing. You don't like study? Okay.
So it's like, again, the transformer. When I'm with my young people, when I was teaching, throw this
Yeah.
as a caveat because you threw me under a bus, then I would transform my lack of enjoyment and
Mm.
make it enjoyable. So I would use music, and I would use,
Mm.
like, like the arts or what have
Mm.
you, whatever I can engage young people with. So getting back to dippism, yeah, it's right up my street. The decolonized way of teaching
Yeah.
is right up my street, and I think you and Mark make a good combination. I
Mm.
don't think I didn't look at it as one teaches one way, one teaches the other way, what have you, what have you. I
Mm.
appreciated what was brought to the table. I did. I was happy that at the beginning, before we'd even started, when Marcus let us know that he likes to have fun, and I thought, yes, because I'm not saying it wasn't going to be fun, but
Yeah.
because now we always had a banter. But I'm just saying, because it's having a one-to-one is different from running a course. So
Yeah.
to know that it was on the agenda, not as an afterthought or as a happen chance, or it's on the agenda. So I thought, yes, so I had to kind of
Yeah.
relaxed a little bit more and got into my zone. So yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I think you guys are like dare I say, I can't think of any melanated analogies, so forgive me, but Batman and Robin, or you're like, you kind of work well together. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say who's
Yeah.
who, it doesn't matter. Just that dynamic of two people going out and taking care of business and
Mm.
understanding each other and supporting each other, and that comes across for your training. So I
Yeah.
that and
Thank you.
it's I enjoyed it, to be honest. Like I said, and I look forward to the ongoing training.
Yeah. It's quite sad and it's beautiful receiving this feedback, um because we're not going to do that again. That will never be repeated.
Look, I've always been a pioneer. I knew I was in the right place. I was determined. I was determined to get on that course. I was determined to
I
get on that.
know.
I was determined, and so
Yeah.
because I'm very intuitive, and I kind of know, and it's like I don't
Mm.
watch the news, and people say to me like, "Oh my god, but suppose something happens, you're not gonna know," and blah blah blah, and I just confidently say, "Listen, because it's not designed for us and it's so negative anyway,
Yeah.
right? I'm not discouraging anyone else from partaking of that news, but I
Mm.
said that, it will come to me. It will come across my path. I will
Yeah.
find out. I will know,
Mm.
and plus, being in decolonized groups and stuff,
Yeah.
information will filter through. But I need self-care. The news for me is not self-care.
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Wow. Um, it's been a pleasure. It really has. And again, that my mind is racing, and I know that I'll come off here and I'll be like, oh, I should have mentioned this and I should have mentioned that. But I want to ask you, why do you think that it is that we toward the negative when somebody dies? Because the reason why I'm asking you that question is because you have said that you haven't really been overloaded with different narratives or instructions on how to grieve and what looks acceptable, and not wanting to bring shame on the family, and don't let people see you crying and seeing you being weak and all that kind of stuff. Where do you think the misery or the depth of sorrow comes from?
Christian. As you spoke, what came to mind? I was going to say at first, as I said earlier, I wasn't taught any of that,
Mm,
But as you finished, I thought one of the reasons why I know I don't grieve like everyone else, because when we tend to go to my experience, when we tend to go to funerals and stuff, we're grieving for ourselves,
yeah.
not the person that's gone in the grave. I like to think, and I'm not perfect, I'm not saying I don't mess up, but I like to think I'm very present. I'm present. If I'm speaking to, like when I go out, I'm going out this evening with friends and stuff, I'm not going to be sitting on my phone,
Yeah.
because that time is for that time. My phone can
Mm,
wait, unless I was expecting an emergency or something. And when I find respectfully, it's not just funerals like weddings and all that kind of stuff. It's just pomp and ceremony.
mm,
And I'm not saying every single case. I resonate with those that have gone outside of the box that I don't have. I don't have a box. I don't think
yeah.
out of the box. There is no box. And I just think I don't to go there's only a few funerals I'm going to go to in my lifetime. I'm not
Mm,
looking. They're parties now, like people like, oh yeah, Norman, we went to school when we were like 2, and we haven't seen them in all that time, but they died the other day. Are you coming? No. Why not? It's like, no, I'm not coming.
but
But
there's
it's
food and drink, Lorna. There's food and drink.
right, one hundred
Yeah.
percent. Like, can I do something for the children? If I like, say they had children, I knew their children, and I could come and extend my hand to the. But why am I just turning up and just being an extra burden with all of this pressure of having to? So there's a lot, but that doesn't sit well. So I don't want to be disrespectful to your listeners and stuff like. That's my personal take.
Mm,
So if I'm at the next funeral, I'm not necessarily thinking that you're spared, but the reality is I'm not. I'd rather not go to many funerals, because I want the celebration.
mm,
I'm not into the food and drink for the sake of it. I don't mind the food and drink, but I could do without that. And because if I'd like to think that whoever's funeral I'm going to, I was there for them when they were alive. I gave my best when they were
yeah.
alive. I have no regrets. If we've
Mm,
had any, whatever, we made peace or what have you, we went through the good, the bad, the ugly while they were alive. So I
mm,
don't feel like I can walk away. I've never been to the graveside of my mother and father or my grandson. Well, I'll tell a lie, I went once when my daughter asked me to go.
mm,
But because I just don't, personally, I don't connect with that. I
mm,
feel that they're with me. The same way how you might carry grief and everything else, we are all of the same DNA. So is it not easier? They're
mm,
here with me. I feel them with me. I speak about them. Like my grandson, he was stillborn, and but for me, it's we don't. Oh, no, you don't speak about it. That's so sad. No, 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 no. We speak about him and his contribution to the family, what it means for us, and etc. And like you know, yeah, he's very much an ongoing, and always will be an ongoing part of the family. So yeah, I just don't. I don't. Yeah, I'm very practical,
yeah.
I guess, with, and I try to be, dare I say, realistic about death. But again, it's because I was cut a certain way, if
Mm,
that makes sense. Maybe if they had
yeah.
said to me, oh, Lorna, your mother's passed away and, she's gone to heaven and blah, blah, blah. And also I think it's all right, because when my mother passed away and a vicar, because back in the day they used to wear the white bit there,
Dog
you know,
colour.
yeah, the dog
Yeah.
colour, right? So, you know, he came to the house and I was there swinging on between the gram, remember the gram and the chair?
No, I don't remember the gram.
Showing my age, right? Showing
Yeah,
my
I've
youth
heard.
young. So
I've
I'm
heard
there,
of the gram. Yeah.
so I'm there swinging between the chair and the gram as a child. And I remember asking him, you know, it's a concept I must have known about because I don't like if I pray because he's a vicar, right? So if I have to go to Sunday school, I have to get sent to Sunday. I'm supposed to get out of my mum's hair to send me Sunday school. Like, you know,
Right.
you know, if I pray hard enough, will my mum come back? You know, and he said, if you pray hard enough, maybe. And do you know, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And then obviously, like Father Christmas, I realized one day it was never going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm very practical about my processes of death. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I refuse to cry for myself.
Yeah.
I'd rather, rather be there for the person in their life.
Okay. I think one day we're going to have a group discussion about children and, how we inform our children about life transitions, including death,
Mm.
about secondary losses like those of which you have discussed.
Mm.
We're going to have a discussion about miscarriage and stillbirth and
Mm.
terminations
Mm.
and the input and the gifts that those children still bring to our lives, whether they make it, to life in its fruition or not. You know,
Mm.
we need to sit down and we need to talk about the death of young children,
Mm.
our youths, and I don't know how we're going to do that,
Mm.
but I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that you will be involved in that process. You know,
Mm.
we are going to be having a youth forum as well, because there is so much work that to be done around our youths, and I'm
Mm.
so glad that you are a part
Mm.
of Dippism because your knowledge, your wisdom is invaluable to the growth of this organization for our communities, you know. So I salute you, Lorna, and just say thank you so much for everything that you bring to the table. You are qualified, just in case you were wondering, yeah? You are more than qualified, and we need you. Our community needs you. We need your input. We need your compassion. We need your empathy. We need your listening ear because so many people, young and old, how you doing? Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, okay, then see you later. Bye.
Mm.
You know, somebody like you actually does take time to stop, collaborate, and listen, in the wise words of our saint, Vanilla Ice. So, yeah, I just want to say, you know how it goes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Because you make Dippism what it is, you know. I've long had this vision of what I want Dippism to be, what I see is needed, the gaps in the future, in the whole scale of things. And you fit that. So I thank you. I thank you. Um, Thank you for this interview as well and giving voice to your experience of the course, because as you know, this was a pilot and there was a lot of kind of toing and froing and confusion at first. And, since doing this pilot, I won't be doing it like that again. That there was definitely a one off. There will be an advanced, but from now on, the book side of things is going to be online. And then we come together and have the discussion, which means then that we can go even deeper.
Mm-hmm. I look forward to it. I look forward to it. Look, I never used. I tended when I was at work sometimes on Zoom, and I forget my book. Not today.
Ah.
Look, and I broke a code. I never,
Ah.
when I was coming up, we never used to write in books because they were so expensive. It was valuable. That'd be like scratching on a iPad or something, you know. And
The screen, yeah.
so that was yeah, people, you're going to be doing your studying. So yeah.
I love that, you know, because I always say to people, writing it, scribbling it, underline it, highlight it, work through it, like literally
Yeah.
run battery through that book.
Look, you trained us well. You trained us well.
Yes. I think I said as well in the training, I don't want to see any clean books. I
No.
don't want to see any clean books. I want something that's been gone through and literally rode hard. Because again, the book is layered. There's so much information in there. I don't even know what I've written. So when you said that you wanted to speak about the allostatic load, I'm like, where's my tapestry? Oh my gosh, where's my book? I can't find my book. So, you know, it's but it's such a gift to humanity, you know, primarily to my brothers and sisters, because that was the book that I needed when I was going through my experiences of death when my parents died, you know. And so I think that I have to write a book. Well, I do, and I have started it for the 6-year-old that was held over the coffin and told, "You never met cousin Headley. Here he is." You know? Yeah. And for the 6-year-old who was never told, "Your mother's gone and she's not coming back." You know, and I'm trying to end this now, but you know, in my work as a suicide, family suicide bereavement practitioner, I heard a lot stories like children getting really excited because they're going on holiday to Devon and they're packing their cases and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to Devon, we're going to Devon. Will I see daddy when I get to Devon? And it's like, oh no, he's not in Devon, he's in heaven, you know?
Right. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Or, you know, stories like that which you told, you know, if I pray hard enough, you know. So there is much work to do. I look forward to doing it alongside you.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to being able to hand over the reins and have you train people. Yeah, especially when it comes to our youths. Another, what would I say, prophet and prophetess in the form of George Benson and Whitney Houston said that our children are the future.
Yeah.
You know?
Teach them and teach them well. Well.
That's it.
Not
Teach them well.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. Teach them Buddhism and let them lead the way.
That's it. Because the earlier we can have these communications around dying, death, and grief, the stronger they will be, you know, the stronger their life jackets will be, the stronger their safe, their scaffolding will be, you know.
But something just came to mind, Laura. You know, they say that as soon as we come into the world, we're dying.
Yes.
Right. So how comes it's, you know, why is that's what before you've even drawn first breath, we've probably, as you're drawing, you've already started the clock's working in reverse, and yet, you know, this is the things that, you know, are never spoken about. So
From the clock starts from inception, doesn't it?
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And may I take the time to say that thank you to Dippism, to yourself, to Marcus, and the team, and for all that you do and have done. I am grateful for, dare I say this, but even though it was a traumatic experience for yourself, going through what you had to do that led you to, you know, providing what you needed in order for others to benefit, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you were able to turn it into what it is. And dare I say that, you know, it was your journey. It was your journey. It was your journey.
Yeah.
And you were the woman to hold it. You know,
Yeah.
apparently we're not given more than we can bear. So You know, I'm grateful for my wounds and scars. I wouldn't
Yeah.
wish them on myself or anybody, but transforming them, I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful for yours. So
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Marcus as well. You know, he's been uh he's very insightful, isn't he?
Okay.
He's like he's like Marcus is like, I don't even know what he's like. He's like the oracle.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
he can be exposed to a little and see so much.
Too much. Too much. There are times when I'm like, just stop picking on me. And he'll say, I'm not picking on you, darling. I'm just telling you what I see.
And
Leave me alone.
he's so matter of fact as well. But in you know, he's got a very like he's very he's a diamond. He's a diamond.
Yeah, he is very unique, gentle man, you know,
Mm.
and
Yes, he's definitely gentle, very gentle,
yeah,
very forthright. But he's like you know, he's like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine. Mary Poppins, right?
he is. Yeah, Mr. Poppins. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's, and I know that we're wrapping things up, but I do have to say this, about what you've just said about being grateful to, all those people who have played a role in my life to get me to this point. Yeah. And oh gosh, one of the most transformative deaths that I have experienced was that of my father. And of course, that is of my mother as well. But I was never allowed to grow up with my family. And Marcus was my literal direct cousin. There's about 4 months between us. And I knew of him, but I didn't
Twins.
know him. We are twins
The twins, I'm telling you. Mm.
completely. Yeah. And when you said Batman and Robin earlier on, I thought you was going to say Batty and Bench because
That too. All the
yeah,
analogies, they're all the above. That too.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we had gotten together earlier, if our lives hadn't played out in the way that we were, then maybe the relationship that we have would be so different that we wouldn't have been able to put this together. So I really do give thanks for those deaths and the decisions that those people made while they were alive, because in their effort to keep us apart, they did so for the magic which is coming now and in the future. And yeah, I'm glad that you're going to have a front row seat in that.
There's now, hopefully.
Yeah, all being well. Just keep your plane in the air, keep those wings flying high, and can we speak to each other again in this way? You know, in this energy, in this what was it that you said before? Not dimension. You said there were three that you mentioned. So you said energy. Well, I said energy.
Energy, frequency, vibration.
That's it. Energy, frequency, vibration. Because as long as we are having conversations about dying, death, and grief in this energy, in this frequency, and in this vibration, we will be able to transform the experiences that other people have when they experience dying, death, and grief, when it is in their face and up close and personal. And they will always know that there is actually an organization, Dipism, with people who are on hand to offer cultural guidance and support when that time comes. So thank you once again for being one of those people. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.